Hello, everybody. It's the Worm back again with some more Raging Loop. Last time was a pretty dang good episode. We finished the. Did we finish? Yeah, it was the aftermath of the our first feast of the feast. Still kind of unclear on the terminology, I guess. And let's see, quite a lot of stuff happened. Let's go over it real quick. We had the big discussion about the badger. That's what was most exciting for me. Well, Haruaki basically, his conclusion was that the badger is actually another role in the game that the people seem to have forgotten about, and he described it as someone who, after the first day, at least, it is a human who will, for whatever reason, somehow turn traitor. And certainly with Haru last time, it was she somehow learned the truth, or the supposed truth, of what happened with the wolves and who is really serving Shinai Sama. So we know, at least for Haru, why that happened, but she's got some weird stuff going on with this god figure, and so it's hard to say if it's going to play out that way exactly again, or if there's just going to be if there can be a traitor formed another way. Sorry, one second. Sorry, I've gotten over being sick. It's just I have this dang cough that just won't go away. Um, Sorry. What else did we? Where was I? Yeah. Sorry. Ugh. Um. Oh man, why am I blanking? We're talking about Haru. Um. I've completely lost my train of thought. Let's get to as part of this discussion, or maybe this was before the discussion. Haruaki, he came to a certain theory regarding the potential survivors of the previous mist incident, which we're thinking is at least Konzo, but he also surmised that potentially this Gensan that Tai-san mentioned, and perhaps even the old man who cried wolf, may be survivors of this mist incident. And he supposed that that might mean that Konzo, old man, and Gensan might have been wolves, and they may have actually survived. Or one, I guess I should say. And that might be related to what happened with Haru's family, because we know it's just her and him now. But that's definitely a very it's not a nice thought that you know, that the rest of the village has been living with murderers, essentially. And I thought it was curious because that would mean we have people, well, just old man's kind of, he's just the old man, so he's kind of just out of it all the time. But certainly with Konzo, that would mean he knows the truth. And so that led me last time to wonder if that's the case, he must believe in the rules so much that even though he was a former wolf, he is content with playing the part of a human. Content might not be the right word, but yeah. So it's definitely a very interesting idea from Haruaki. Don't know if it's true, but definitely interesting. We had a conversation with Yasunaga, and Yasunaga tried to basically, probe Haruaki for his thoughts, his opinions, his ideas. And Haruaki basically tried to give him advice. He said, don't get too combative with Kanzo. And he basically Haruaki went to bat for Chiemi, Meiko, and Rikako. And of course, he's a bit biased in that regard. So he didn't really give any firm reasons. He just said it was a hunch. And I think that's mainly everything. If I remember. Oh, of course, we had a big section. Oh man, my throat. Oh, 1 second. Oh. We had a whole section with Mamiya-san sort of detailing the cultural history and influences of this village's traditions. And of course, I'm sure if you are Japanese or are aware of Japanese culture and history and myth and religion, that might have been a pretty good segment for you. I barely know anything really. I mean, I recognize some of the names. Like, I think they said Amaterasu at some point, and that's the sun goddess, right? But apparently also a goddess in Yomi. Yeah, so I'm not very familiar, of course. But essentially, I think her conclusions were something like, there are some very Japanese influences, but there are also some very non-Japanese influences. And so her thought was something like, maybe within just a generation or two, there was an introduction of foreign, maybe Western influence, and then within just a couple generations, that managed to solidify into the myths of this village. So fairly interesting, what would it be? Anthropology, mythology, just fairly interesting ideas. But I don't know exactly how helpful that is for us as Haruaki right now in the, during the feast. So we'll just have to wait and see how relevant that is. I think that's everything now. Okay, so let's continue. I assume we'll probably get to the end of the day this time, and I'll be curious if we're going to make a decision on what to do as the snake. Whether that's going to be something we do or something Haruaki does. So let's continue. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. If the real story behind the feast made people into that, couldn't that have happened to Kanzo-san? Okay, so this is where we left off last time, talking about the potential for them being wolves, I think. Wolves and the badger. I knew it was a thing, but didn't quite understand how it worked. That was probably something I could only find out if I became a badger or a wolf. That would be... That's such a... interesting idea. What would it look... How would that even work if Haruaki was a wolf? Because he has such a unique perspective in, the looping sort of thing. Would he... I mean, how could you convince him to do that? If he was a wolf, would he have a choice? I guess not, because if he didn't play his role, would the corruption get him? Like, what's the deal here? Huh. That meant it was pointless to think about it now. The thing I had to do now was... Interesting. Okay. Here we have a choice. Key 20. It's funny, when we were going through Kamafujiyoshi, we got 3 or 4 keys in such a short amount of time, and I was worried that meant that, we'd be ending the game much more quickly than I thought. We haven't had a key in quite some time, so yeah, I guess the distribution is, I don't know, maybe instead of distributed evenly throughout the game, maybe the keys are sort of clustered. Clustered at different parts of the game. Well, I guess we're just going to keep passing time then. Whoa. Have we seen this before? A kind of red glow? Is that just the mist? What's going on here? We hung out like that until the evening, when Kanzo-san came back, making the same sullen face as always, and we all had an early, massive dinner. The tables had boiled shishinare on them. The smell was way more tolerable than the first time I ate it, so this one probably hasn't aged as much. I was kind of used to it by now, so I could eat it like I would normal meat, though I probably wouldn't have insisted on having it if I had the choice. However, since it was here, I could only assume that even this event counted as some sort of special occasion worthy of special food.
アステカじゃ、生贄にするものを1年かけて艦隊したそうだわ。
Mamiya-san whispered that to me alone, and I wasn't sure what to make of that. It seemed like she was implying, at least they won't make us wait that long. What a bad joke. I guess that was just the evening. The sun going down. After the meal, everyone began to leave. Kaori-san and I stayed behind to do the dishes.
本当に助かるわ。こんな時に一人で洗い物をしてたら気が狂ってしまうかも。
Okay, looks like I'm recording alright.
まあこんな時ですからね。
I had to be careful with my words. I actually knew what she was like when she went insane.
明日も皿洗いができるように生き延びないとですね。やだな。気にしないでくださいよ。
もし私が狼様にやられたら食堂のことはお願いね。
いやいや、それは厳しいですって。まだ香織さんにいていただかないと。すみません。変なこと言ってしまって。
いいのよ。現実から目を背け続けていないで覚悟を決めないといけない頃合いでしょ。きっと誰かがいなくなるんでしょうからね。
Yeah, I
明
think...
日には。
Oh, sorry, Kaori. Didn't mean to interrupt you. I think Haruaki, he tried to, he tried to guess, not guess, but he tried to reason out the wolves' potential targets. And, of course, Yasunaga and... Oh, sorry. Oh, dang it. Okay. He said Yasunaga and Kanzo were targets, but potentially the wolves could enact a strategy where they would keep Kanzo and Yasunaga alive, but foster a kind of rivalry between them, thus, crippling the humans' ability to organize themselves, something like that. So, in that instance, if they weren't going to kill Yasunaga or Kanzo, maybe Takumi or someone else like that could also be a target. So, we're going to have to see. Haruaki I think he has a pretty good track record for things like that. So, yeah, She was unexpectedly calm about this.
安永はあの子は本当に優しい子で、しかも父親に似て頭もいいから、いつも大変な時も優しく笑ってくれて励ましてくれて、一番いい解決の方法も考えてくれるんです。よほど難しいんだわ、あの顔は。
よく見てますね。
そりゃ親だから。
Yasunaga-kun had a sort of complex about his relationship with his mother. He believed that Kaori-san loved Yoshitsugu-kun more than him. I didn't know if that was true, but at the very least, Kaori-san did treasure him dearly as a son. Right as I thought that.
義継、あんたどうしたの？忘れ物でもした？
なんでババアだけ皿洗いしねえとなんねんだよ。
そりゃあんたが手伝わないからよ。
俺だけじゃねえだろうが。この物騒な時に食堂に残しやがって。兄貴とか何やってんだ、畜生よ。
自分の仕事があるのはいいことよ。みんなそれぞれやることはある。あんたもすべきことをしなさいな。
勉強かよ。
勉強でもいいし、皿拭きでもいい。とにかく自分ですべきことを考えて。
よこせよ、福も。
超絶いい子だな、君は。残念ながらたった今全部拭き終わってしまったけど。
何の意味があったんだよ、クソ。
まあ首相な態度は変えましょう。しっかり宴の支度して、明日また手伝いなさい。
それじゃあ僕もこれで。
Haruaki, I feel like we might want to make sure Yoshitsugu actually does that. Did we ever get a confirmation on what happened with him during the first route? I can't remember if oh, dang it. I can't remember if Yasunaga mentioned if he suggested to Yoshitsugu that he should not follow the feast's rules, or if Yoshitsugu just did it himself. But we should probably try to make sure he does.
おやすみなさい。
待てよ、イカレ野郎。
Just after I left the dining hall, he caught up with me through the mist.
君もいい加減名前を覚えてくれよ。
うるせえシッコマン、シッコマン。
What? You're calling me that now?
やめろ。
An ambush. Damn middle schoolers.
冗談はいいんだよ、イカレ野郎。
まあいいや、シッコマンよりは。冗談じゃなかったら何だって言うのさ。
狼のやつをぶっ殺しに行こうぜ。
Ah, okay. So I'm guessing this might have been if we weren't told the reason before, I think I could see what happened the last time. What?
どういうこと？
クソくらえだっつんだよ。宴だ新内だかよ、付き合いきれねえ。どいつもこいつもビビりやがって。なんだって棒切れでぶん殴りゃ死ぬっつーの。
There was not a hint of fear in his voice. However, nor was there any killing intent or violence. Really? Well, I'm no psychologist, so maybe Haruaki's better equipped to judge that than I am. Of course, I'm not familiar with the language, so maybe he's able to tell that better than I could. Okay. However, he also wasn't messing around. He was defiance and recklessness given human form.
それともてめえもビビってんのか？やっぱイカれてみせたのはフリかよ。
I now understood it all. Yep, here we go. He'd walked around He'd walked around at night last loop too, and that got him killed by the corruption. Had Yoshitsugu-kun met up with anyone before he'd gone off? Like Yasunaga-kun and the others? I doubted that Yasunaga-kun was the one who'd made him into that mutilated corpse. So it had to be that thing. Or maybe that thing. Which I am suspecting more and more that this might have been Haru. Crap. After I'd found out that the feast had normal murders last time, I'd let my guard down a bit. There were still things that couldn't be explained. They were still mysterious. They were still mysterious, unknown, and scary. However, would I learn anything if I actually went with him? Even if I could loop back, all I would have to show for it would be a memory of me getting torn apart in the mist before I even realized it. However, if I refused, he would go off on his own and die, making Kaori-san lose it and snap. How was I to prevent that? I had to hold myself from saying something. This wasn't the time for dad jokes.
君だけで行くといい。
やっぱりそうだ。この腰抜けが。
うん。いいよいいよ腰抜けで。これで邪魔がいなくなる。
あ？
What a fine listener.
これで安心して香織さんに手を出せるって言うんだよ。ずいぶん若くして子供を産んだんだな、あの人。まだ全然若い。
Wow. I guess this is a strategy, Haruaki. Okay, let's... it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
は？おい。
まあ、どうせ死んだはずの命だし、せいぜい死ぬまで楽しもうかなと思うよ。死に急ぐならどうぞ。お母さんは任せな。せいぜい可愛がって。
Whoa. I didn't expect him to charge at me head first. What do you mean, Haruaki? What?
てめえだろバローパターラー！そったね！どこで目つけやがったったんだ！
Crap, that worked too well. I was about to be killed by a generic delinquent middle schooler.
死ね！どいつらクソバラー！
His words were hurting me, but I could still dodge.
ああ、ごめん。嘘。
何が嘘だ！しめたらくったら！
What kind of language was that? I kind of wanted to learn it. Dodging again, I ran off into the dark mist.
てめえ！どこ行きやがった！
Fighting wasn't easy in this mist, huh? This is the first time I was actually thankful for it.
どこだクソバラー！
織部義継。あんま行きがって大事なことを見逃すんじゃないぜ。
ああ！
今日間違えれば君は必ず死ぬ。
上等じゃねえかクソだら！
その後香織さんは誰が守る？
知るかそんなもん！兄貴か匠兄が勝手にやんだろうが！
無理だね。彼らは休みず全体のことしか見てないんだから。お母さん守りたいなら危ない橋を渡らずに生き延びることを考えろ。
ああ？死ぬとは限らねえだろうが、勝てるかもしんねえだろうが。
I knew how he felt. I'd thought the same thing once. But not anymore. I knew it was impossible.
その方法じゃダメだ。
てめえ、一体何言ってんだ？一体何を知ってる？
僕がもうやったから。
I didn't expect him to understand, so it was fine.
は？とりあえず、君が死んだら香織さんに手を出すかもしれないから、死なない方がいいぞ。
てめえ、ごまかすな。一体どういうことだ。おい。
皿洗い、頑張れよ。
Hopefully that would convince him. I headed back to my hut before it was too late. Wow. That was something, all right. I heard footsteps and breathing following me for a while, but when I heard someone trip, I stopped and turned around. Oh.
大丈夫ですか、リカコさん。
痛い。
The area was covered in grass, but that didn't make falling here particularly safe.
というか、どうしたんです？こんな時間に。物意味しなきゃ。
She did want to talk to us. Is this what that's about?
それはこちらのセリフです、春明様。洗い物で遅くなった上に何を揉めていらっしゃるのです。
Wow. A rare sight from Rikako-san. She was serious, kinda angry, and practically rambling.
ちょっと人助けを。
知っております。無謀に走ろうとする織部義継をたしなめられたのでしょう。とてつもなくそのお下劣な方法で。
Yeah, that's a good way to sum up the situation.
なぜいつになく状況理解が詳細かつ正確なんですか？
お話をし損ねましたから、霧に身を潜めておりました。
She was shivering, showing how cold she was. Just how long had she been waiting outside the dining hall?
ああ、すみません。そういえばそんな話ありましたね。ちえみちゃんとも話し損ねたや。
宴の時はありがとうございました。
ん？
私をくくることもできたでしょうに。
いやいや、僕は誰にも死んでほしくはないですよ。すみません。嘘です。いや、本当なんですが、こうも思ってます。リカコさんもメイコちゃんも死ぬところなんて見たくないって。
それはどういう
意味でしょうね。
Secret talks weren't a good idea. That was why I didn't say anything more.
あ、一つだけ聞きたいんですが。
何でしょうか。
もしメイコちゃんが狼だったとしたら、リカコさんはどうしますか？
私が共にくくられましょう。
She was quite a character.
とにかく大丈夫ですから。明日も元気なリカコさんのドジっぷり見られることを楽しみにしてますよ。
春明様、何を一体。私はドジなんて失礼な。
じゃあまた明日。
Hopefully.
僕がもうやったからとは
Ooh.
どういう意味でしょうか。
You, heard that bit, did you? Crap.
口から出任せですよ。不思議系の物言いって結構言いくるめやすいんです。
For some reason, I feel like she wouldn't be, since she tends to do that herself every now and again.
私は春明様が身車の手のものだとかそんなことは思いません。
Miguruma? Wait. Wait. Hang on. Yeah, wait a second. We talked with Shoji Higuchi, We didn't talk to any Miguruma, did we? Huh. What do you mean by this, Rikako?
むしろ何と言いますか。
That's the thing. We've not talked to any person related to Miguruma. That's such a... What do you mean?
この逃げ場のない霧を晴らしにおいでになった特別な方なのではないかと。
That would certainly be great if he could.
こんな無双めいたこと気持ちが悪いとお思いかもしれません。
No, it sounds nice. You know, I hope you're not a wolf, Rikako. I really hope not.
が私も伝統やら信心やらに染まって生きてきたものです。テレビの中で語られる科学とかそういったものには縁遠く生きてまいりました。ですから迷信に脅かされている今、迷信めいた何かに誰かにすがりたくなっているやもしれません。
リカコさん、
I didn't know certain things myself. I also had a thirst for the truth. I couldn't deny that I'd defied all logic and causality by standing here after experiencing death a few times. Was that meant as a tool to dispel the despair of the feast? Had I been given this power to do that? Was someone telling me to stop this mad ritual, no matter how many deaths it took? I had no idea. And because of that, telling her about it would just give her false hope.
僕もそうありたいですが、残念。あんまり特別な人間でもなさそうです。でも、そうですね。そこまで信じてもらえてるなら、頑張りますよ。
はい。
じゃあ、今日はここで。
What? She extended her hand to me.
握手？
She nodded.
じゃあ、握手で。約束です。明日もきっと会いましょう。
Potential death flags are rising. I took her hand.
いいえ。
She grasped it back tightly. Her fingers were slender and cold.
もし明日会えずとも
Oh, yeah.
いずれまたいずれのせいでより穏やかなせいで巡り合いますよ。
She let go.
おやすみなさい。さようなら。
Oof. Come on, game. Why you doing this to me?
リカコさん、
She disappeared into the mist.
僕も願ってますよ。
Her footsteps were growing distant. I listened, but it didn't seem like she'd fallen again. I turned around. It had been a long time since I'd heard a goodbye. And again, I'm no expert or anything, but my understanding is sayonara is more, it's not just goodbye, it's goodbye with the connotation is you won't see that person for a very long time. Something like that, I think. So there's a kind of some context that is not directly translated, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It looked like I wasn't as prepared for this as I thought. I couldn't just assume I'd loop again if I died. If I did, I'd hardly be standing with the locals who carried the weight of putting their lives on the line. I would give my all to survive this night and render that cynical promise irrelevant. Then, once everything was solved, I would use her words to tease her. I could just imagine her turning red and squirming. That would probably be adorable beyond belief.
信内さんのお守りは
I sung the song I'd learned today to try and distract myself from the feelings that were beginning to sprout inside me. Barely able to see a thing, I wandered back to my hut. Okay, here we go. I tore off a page of my notepad, put a pen on the floor, and began to think. All right. Who was I supposed to use my snake powers on? Okay. All right, everybody. Let's put our thinking caps on. It's time to dig deep and think of what we should be doing. Who would I pick at the moment? Let me think. Well, I mean, for sentimental purposes, part of me wants to check Chiemi or Rikako, you know? So that's not necessarily the best strategic move. Takumi could be a good choice. Mochi is one I'm curious about. Because, you know, he would be very dangerous as a wolf, I feel. So knowing that, I think would be helpful. And I think the snake's powers just tell us if they're human, right? It doesn't tell us if they have a guardian. I don't think. I'm not too worried about Kiyonosuke. Or Old Man. And I think we still have our meta reasoning for Tai-san. We think, we're thinking it might not be her since she was a wolf last time. So I guess Takumi, Mochi, Chiemi, or Rikako. One of those four, I guess, is my idea. 2 for sentimental reasons, and then 2 for strategic reasons, I guess. Although, I think Haruaki... Sorry. I think Haruaki came to the conclusion that Chiemi is most likely not a wolf because of her play to sacrifice herself. Rikako did the same thing, but he said it might have been less likely with her since she could have just been copying Chiemi in that. But, so, since we only have a limited amount of times we can do this, I guess I wouldn't do Chiemi. So I guess I would do someone between Rikako, Mochi, or Takumi. That's what I kind of center around. Let's see Haruaki's thoughts. The most natural idea was to investigate the most likely wolf candidates, but there was a problem with that. Namely, no one seemed to fit the bill. Yep. If there was anything wolf-like about anyone so far, it would only be some vague signs that barely meant anything. They were nothing but things that'd start to make sense after everything was known. Even I, with all my knowledge of the previous loop, couldn't tell if anyone was acting weird. Thus, I had to change my line of thinking. I shouldn't have to force myself to find the wolves. I had to confirm the identities of those who could be the most dangerous wolves. Thankfully, We already have the most convenient leader figures, Kanzo-san and Yasunaga-kun, on our side. Yeah, so that's why I want to check Mochi. So I'm glad I'm kind of on the same wavelength here as Haruaki. As things were, it didn't look like they were leading the humans into the wrong direction. I also realized that they'd been holding themselves back in the previous loop. Yasunaga-kun hadn't been a proactive leader because he was a wolf. Well, Kanzo-san probably didn't want to stand out in order to protect himself because he had some sort of guardian, like the spider. The one who'd noticed that was none other than Yasunaga-kun. He'd realized Kanzo-san wasn't himself, and used it against him. An excellent move on his part. However, we had problems with them being on the same side too. Honestly, they were incompatible. I hoped they could find some common ground soon. That aside, since they were both confirmed monkeys, I had to shift my attention to Takumi Muro-san, who acted as the mediator between the younger and older generations. Alright, yep, once again, I'm on the same wavelength here. At first glance, he appeared to be the same as last time, but I couldn't use that to determine whether he was clean or not. Okay, so another one I was concerned about was Kinosuke-shi, so he's more concerned about Kinosuke than I am. Let's see why. True, I guess that's true. He wasn't popular, but he was noisy and had a certain degree of influence. I couldn't ignore him. He has influence with Tai-san, just by, being from Kamafuchiyoshi. Well, no, that's not right. He has influence with Tai-san because he knows how to manipulate her with the traditions and the myths. He could easily derail the feast, which made him a valuable asset to the wolves. He could easily derail the feast, which made him a valuable asset to the wolves probably wanted to keep around until the end. There was another thing, though. He was actually the only one who seemed slightly wolf-like. I had no idea how many were really hesitant about sending people to their death during voting. However, looking at the voting order, they could have easily killed Kinosuke-shi without even having to make a second vote. Yasunaga-kun voted for him, which was probably calculated. He might have seen the guy as a convenient first sacrifice. Then Kaori-san and Mochi voted for him too. Then it was the village youth's turn. He was widely unpopular with them, making him a convenient scapegoat for blame. However, he hadn't gotten any more votes from them. What was I supposed to make of that? The wolves knew one another. I knew this from last time, but it was fair to assume that it was common knowledge amongst the others. It might have been possible that there was a wolf among the village youth, and they purposely avoided voting for him. Who did Haru vote for? I don't remember. One more thing. From my perspective, since he wanted to protect Rikako-san like me, and would make votes on that basis, he was actually kind of useful to me. Yeah, I had to admit it. I believed Rikako-san and Meiko to be humans. The former was a normal one, while Meiko was a spider.
メイコには言って聞かせてありますので確認させてます。悩むならばメイコではなく私を。
Rikako-san had been worried that a feast would happen soon, which was why she'd taught Meiko about what she had to do. Meiko probably didn't have the mental acuity to understand or participate in the feast all on her own. So, Rikako-san might have given Meiko some way to convey that she had a guardian. Personal exchanges would be heard by someone, and by extent, the wolves. That was probably even more certain than what I'd experienced on the way back here, it was safe to consider it a rule. However, if there was a way to pass on information without making it seem important, you could easily converse in secret. That was why I believed Rikako-san knew that Meiko had a guardian, and was putting her life on the line to protect her. She'd also conveyed it to me by telling me to vote for her despite Meiko pretty much being a throwaway vote. That was her way of telling me that Meiko was important. I didn't know if it attracted anyone else's attention, if they'd realized what Meiko was. However, most of the locals had probably assumed that Rikako-san was simply worried for the little girl. They'd simply assumed she was fulfilling her role as the one who took her in the corruption. That was exactly why people would still be voting for them. Meiko's role was probably the same as Kanzo-san's last time, the spider. That was why Rikako-san was going so far to hide it. Anyway, that was why I decided that they weren't suspicious. If there was another option, it was Mamiya-san. She'd survived today's feast by saying that she hadn't checked for a mark on her stomach. But if she claimed to have a guardian tomorrow, could that be trusted? She had nothing tying her to Yasumizu, so no one would trust her. Whether she was human or a wolf, I couldn't put it past her to fake having a guardian just to keep herself alive. Those three were prime targets. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's what we're gonna do, everyone. I'm gonna end it here. And this is your homework. I'm gonna want all of you to... I want to hear you choose one of these three, and I want to hear your reasons for it. Obviously, Haruaki gave his own reasons, so if you just like one of those three explanations, then that's perfectly fine. But here's, I've been waiting for something like this for a while, so this is definitely interesting. Haruaki had some interesting thoughts here about Meiko and Rikako. Yeah, I have to admit, I didn't make the connection that Meiko might have had a guardian. I would have been, just like Haruaki said, I was just kind of thinking, as the villagers probably were, that Meiko is just someone Rikako wants to protect. So it's interesting that he took the extra step into thinking that she was a guardian. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll give my thoughts. I'll think about this myself too, and give my thoughts for next time. Yeah, so next time we'll obviously recap this episode, and then we'll make this big decision. Because this is very big. This could potentially, considering we could potentially be going back earlier for previous choices, we'd still be on the same route, wouldn't we? So this is going to be permanent knowledge for us, I think, which is very important. Okay. I want to apologize again for all the coughing I did. It's just, as I said, I'm over the main part of the sickness. At some point I had a fever and I was out of commission for 2 days. But that's over and done with. I just cannot. I don't seem to be able to just get rid of this cough, and it's very annoying. So sorry about that. I hope it'll leave soon. I'm taking some medicine, so we'll see. In any case, I've been The Worm. This has been Raging Loop. I hope you're enjoying it. I know I am. And I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.